Aloha, everybody, and hopefully you guys are having a great day. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about Anchor Fitness. So they are #1 rated portable cable machine. So it definitely replaces that big, bulky cable machine that is very functional and useful within the gym, but not always possible to bring to anywhere. Obviously, it's impossible to bring just anywhere. It's not portable like the Anchor Fitness tool is. So this is incredible. The NHL uses it, UFC uses it. They use it in Exos for the the NFL Combine, and we use it here for Tasco Fit Martial Arts and Fitness for some of our group classes that we have in kettlebell kickboxing, as well as in our private lessons. So it's become really, really handy for that. Really good storage, very small, compact. You can put tiny weights on the weight plates and take them off too. So it uses more of leveraging system in that. And it's just a lot more fluid and easier to use than the bands are. So with that, you can use our code, which is TASCOFIT, TASKOFIT, to get your percentage off. We're also working with My Foot Function to help with better foot health and function. Everything kind of starts from the ground up, from where you step in the morning. Hopefully you don't land on your face. You're landing on your feet and making sure that you're having good foot function, because that is going to help with your balance, your capabilities, being able to lift. So everything can kind of stem from there. So be sure to use our code with them. That one's going to be TASCOFIT, TASKOFIT 11 with My Foot Function. So you can get the toe spacers, which are definitely good to try and help to correct or avoid any bunions that you may have had formed from wearing either narrow shoes or anything else. And you just learn a lot from each of these places. So please be sure to check out Anchor Fitness and also My Foot Function. All right, guys, enjoy the episode. Aloha, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship podcast. I'm your host, Kolo, and I'm joined today with a very special guest and friend of mine, Jénel Stevens-Thompson. So Jénel is an accomplished martial artist, personal trainer, entrepreneur, stunt woman, athlete, and now wife. She recently got married. She is known globally for her work on Black Panther, Avengers, Infinity War, Luke Cage, Breaking In, Shadow Force, Woman King, and an incredibly long list of many other shows and movies that she has doubled in or played a part. You can find that list on her IMDb as well. Jénel also played Division I basketball for Canisius, I'm always pronouncing that wrong, in college in Buffalo on a full scholarship for 4 years. She was inducted into the 2014 class of Canisius College's Sports Hall of Fame for her amazing achievements throughout her collegiate career in women's basketball. I actually remember that too. This has all brought her to the highlight of her career, being on the Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship podcast. So Jénel, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm super excited to have you on and be able to just share your experience and knowledge of being a successful and growing entrepreneur with our listeners. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
So Jénel, let's get right into it. So I've known you for years. We met in Anderson's Martial Arts Academy. Martial artists, I remember, I think I met you in like the kettlebell kickboxing class first and foremost. And again, we just kind of hit it off from there. We got to know each other more, saw each other in classes. And, eventually I got to get to know you, and you had been a personal trainer at Equinox, either I think during there or prior. And eventually I remember you started bringing your own clients into there, and just, you were training everybody outside, and you had created Prowess Private training. So let's just talk a little bit about that, and we'll kind of get to the rest of your career and where it's led up to. But if you can just kind of talk to our listeners about what got you to the point of creating your own LLC, your own business, and how you're able to do that, both kind of financially, just, your own confidence in yourself, and just what you're able to do. So just kind of maybe walk us through that from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So in college, actually before college, I was really interested in the entertainment business. But a lot had been put down or on the back burner because of collegiate basketball, and because I was under contract with them, I couldn't do a lot. So when I left there, I came back to New York for acting and modeling. So I took my personal training job at Equinox as kind of like the backup job to pay the bills, because in New York City, pounding the pavement doesn't pay the bills, and there's a lot of heavy bills in New York City. So I took that as the second job, but after going on audition after audition, I had to cancel clients and move clients, and that became very stressful. Plus, I just fell in love with the whole industry of personal training. So with that, did that for a while. Then my martial arts school moved closer. Well, actually, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to rewind a little bit, because when I
Sure.
did come back to New York after college, I initially wanted to be like the GM of a professional team, right? Acting and modeling was in there too, but that was initially the first step I wanted to go to. So when I first got back to New York, I ran into somebody who was a personal trainer at Equinox, who I had went to college with. So I didn't land the sport administration job, which is where I got my master's in. I landed a PR job, and that was just supposed to be a stepping stone. It took an entire year to make that decision to turn to go into personal training. And it took a year of meeting with this friend that I ran into, having dinners, having talks, just him breaking everything down. I wasn't ready at the time to make that leap, and I had just come back to New York. So I pretty much had to take out a loan to start, in my endeavors, to pay rent, actually. So after that year of getting all my ducks in a row, making sure my finances were together and I could have a roof over my head and eat and all that, that's when I made the leap into personal training. And this was obviously not the 9 to 5 that everybody's used to. My parents were used to that for decades, so they were very, very supportive, but they were also warned me, that this is, not a 9 to 5. This is a very, different kind of career path that you're about to take. And I took that
Talking
under
about personal
advisement.
training or?
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
It wasn't your typical 9 to 5. No, it's fine. You get paid per client, obviously, and the gym takes a cut of that as well. So it was very scary jumping into that arena, but I knew I had the support of my parents, but I told them that I didn't want a safety net. I wanted to do this. So I took out a loan, paid my bills, became a trainer, worked my butt off, built up my clientele, and stayed there for a few years, because a lot of people were even like, oh, you can start your own business, blah, blah, but I wasn't ready to do that. So once I started really thinking about starting my own career in personal training, that again took about a year to make sure all my ducks were in a row. I built up my own clientele. I made sure that they were comfortable enough with me to be able to leave Equinox. So there was a whole thing too with Equinox and stealing clients. But
Mm-hmm.
once you gain a rapport with your clients, they don't really want to train with anybody else, especially if you've been doing it with them for years. They feel comfortable with you. So, I took that leap into then again, didn't want a safety net, and took a leap of faith into creating my own business. And in that time, I was getting my ducks in a row. Anderson's Martial Arts Academy moved closer to the gym I was working at. So I, at that time or in the process, I worked my way up to a certain level in my martial arts, and became very good friends with Sifu and Dasha, the owners of the school. And once I said, okay, I'm quitting Equinox, I took my clients with me, and I basically housed my business under their roof. And in doing that, my business grew. I was able to even advance even more in my martial arts, because I was there every day, all day. And
Yep.
then, there was a lot of New York stunt performers that came into the school. And I continued to watch them between classes, after classes, before classes. They would do fight choreo and train. And I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Hard not to watch that.
Yeah, right. I was like, oh, we're doing a lot of fun things with knives and guns. Not really hitting each other, but looking like they're hitting each other. So an ex coworker of mine from Equinox would come in. She was a stunt performer, and I was like, man, this looks really cool. I'd be interested in this. She goes, are you serious? Because I think you'd be good at it. So she's like, oh, I'll put together a headshot and resume, and I'll pass your name around. And then she left, and I'm like, I don't have a stunt resume. What's a stunt resume? What am I supposed to put down? So
Yeah.
another martial artist in the school and stunt performer. He was like, just put down everything that you do for fun. So I started writing everything down, and I was surprised. I was like, wow, I've been training for this career my entire life without even knowing about it. So
I'm
that's
awesome. Wow.
man. So not in a nutshell, that's kind of my path.
We're all in a nutshell. No, I'm kidding. Well, yeah, that's it, right? So it's like, it's funny because all of these people who have come into your life in one way or another, you had to ask these questions. There's something you wanted to do, and it's just like, I know I can do it. I know there is the capacity to be able to do it. I just don't know how. I don't know how to start. And how to start is so important. Like, if you remember, even like writing essays, either in college or high school, it's just like, that was probably one of the hardest things, is knowing where to start. Because if you know how to start, you know how to kind of plan it out, or at least you learn a little bit better, and you're an ace planner. Like, you're not only you're an ace planner, but you follow through, which is something that I'm definitely trying to still hunker like down on. But my point to this is, that's what this podcast is about. I'm trying to bring on people such as yourself to be that source for anybody else who's listening. So like you said, Heidi, like, she was just like, yeah, start doing this. Or I'm sorry, somebody else had said to you like, hey, just start writing down the stuff. It's just like, you wouldn't even know where to start if it wasn't necessarily like for them, because the world is so giant seemingly in the fields that you even want to go into. So it's really, really helpful to have those guides and just a place to begin. So just kind of going back a little bit, Jénel, speaking of like kind of where you wanted to go, what did you say your major was in college? Where was that direction headed for you initially?
So yeah, and I did undergrad business management. Actually, I started out in engineering. I wanted to be an architectural engineer.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I remember that.
yeah, so I came into college on a basketball scholarship, but the deal was a 3-2 program. I was supposed to spend 3 years at Canisius and 2 years at Cornell to get my engineering, because they had pre-engineering, not engineering. So I started on that path my freshman year, and then realized I think I got my first C in my life in college. And I was like, I was devastated, completely devastated. I was like, what is this? And everybody's like, maybe just get a tutor, you'll be fine. I was like, a tutor? What? And I was like, I'm failing at life. So I was like, okay, I have to make a decision. And it was like, okay, am I gonna enjoy college? And not necessarily to that extent, because I was on the basketball team, but like, am I gonna go through this with complete stress, having to have tutors, having to do this? Is this what I want to do? And then realizing that science was not what I expected, and it just wasn't a path that seemed to fit with me. So I switched my major to business, and I was like, okay, switch my major to business. And then after that, got my master's in sport administration. So my goal was to be a GM of a professional sport team,
General
ideally
manager.
WNBA basketball team. Yeah.
Nice. And what would that have entailed for you? Like, kind of what made you want to be that? Obviously you were in basketball yourself, but why a GM?
Right. That's one of the top levels in the sport business industry. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay in sports, but stay on the business side of it. But then after leaving college and having a year of an office job in public relations, I was like, oh, yeah, working on the business side of sports doesn't mean you keep doing sports. You have to sit
Yeah.
behind a desk. So it just wasn't for me. I needed to be active. And that year in PR really was an eye opener for me. And that's when I started thinking about getting back into the entertainment business. And that's why I was there for literally a year, and I knew I had to pay my dues. So it was my first major job out of college, this PR job. And I knew I couldn't leave before a year was up. So I had to tough it out and make sure that that was on my resume. I was there for a year, and then in that year is when I had all those meetings and spoke with this friend consistently about how to make this jump, and what did he do financially, and how do you develop clients, and how do you start this career. So like you said, it's really about speaking to the people that are in the industries that you wanted to be in, to help to guide you. And maybe he was my main focus, but at a certain point, sometimes it could be 1, 2, 3 people, because they could have nuggets of knowledge that the other person didn't, and that one thing could really propel you into the avenue that you want to go down.
Yeah. And it definitely helps to make sure that they are supportive people. Like, because you
Yes,
get the people that
absolutely.
sometimes are just like, oh, I don't know. Or the people that are in it that are like, it's a hard thing to do. It's just like, sort of got like, it is a pet peeve of mine when people say, and I hate when I say it too. And I think I've said this in every interview that I've done. I hate when people say something is hard, because people typically associate hard with impossible or you shouldn't do it. Whereas
Right.
I hear it and I'm like, oh, came on. Thanks. Like, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah. That's my
so it's
motivation. Somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm going to prove them wrong.
proven wrong. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You and I get along on that avenue. So yeah, definitely have people, your support system, that are there to be honest with you and tell you the realities of it, but also to be there to be like, hey, this is the reality of it. Yeah, it might be a little bit more difficult, but we're going to get through it. I can help you. There's ways to get around it or through it, and you're going to be successful. And, you know, if you don't know Jénel in person already, she is pretty much, I don't, so knock on wood, right? Like successful in whatever she does, in anything. Like natural talent
Thank
definitely
you.
does play a role, but also, yes, your upbringing, your amazing parents who I have had the pleasure of meeting and knowing for a number of years now. Obviously, you know, your sibling, your brother too. So having that strong family unit also taught you who to trust and who not, like what energy not to take in. Sometimes the hardest energy not to take in though is your own, right? Like being a little too hard on yourself. Like even you're like, see, what is this? But like, that's also a good thing too. But there's a very fine line with like beating yourself up over and over again and just moving past it and like, okay, yeah, you fucked up. You did this not in the way that you wanted to do. So let's see how we can fix it and move on rather than just wallowing in it for forever. So,
Right.
you had a scholarship, so you had no student debt, which was incredible. How did you know how much? You said you took out a loan, just I guess to live, right? When you started at Equinox,
Yeah.
how did you know how much to take out? Like what was that information? I'm sure the business part of your college experience helped to navigate that, but yeah, just how did you know the financials of that?
I think one of the biggest things for me is they had somebody come in and speak to us at Equinox as trainers. It was a financial planner. That was the
Oh,
best thing that happened. There was a woman that came in, gave us all, a seminar on financial planning, and she's like, I highly recommend it, and here's my information. You don't have to go with me, but financial planning is a thing, because with a trainer, like I said, it's not a 9 to 5, so it's all over the place. It's like, how do you manage your money? How do you create a budget for yourself and do all this and that? So I took her on, and a lot of people think, oh, I don't have money for a financial planner. You don't have to pay them anything. Your investments, they get paid through that. So no money really comes out of your pocket to pay them on a monthly, weekly, or yearly basis. And they just guide you, into and give you advice in line with what you have and where you want to be. So I came to her, I'll never forget this. I first sat down with her and I said, my number one goal is to get to $10,000 in my savings account. And it took years to do that, and determination and being on a budget, but I was able to, ask her, okay, how much money do I need to take out in this loan? And she broke down the numbers. Okay, so this is your rent per month. This is how much you expect to do, spend in food, and how much does it cost you to get to work every day? So we broke those numbers down and added them up, and then, broke them down over a 6 month to a year um, time frame. And that was my goal. It's like, okay, I have about 6 months to a year to not fail after this. This is my breaking point. I can't go past this relying on this loan. So I'm going to have to start paying it back at that point. So when you see the numbers, it's glaring. If
yeah.
you're going on a whim, it's like, oh yeah, it's fine. I'll buy this, whatever today, and
Yep.
I'll buy that tomorrow. No big deal. And then you're like, oh my God, I have to pay rent tomorrow now.
Yep.
So you got to write it down. And like you said, I'm a stickler for organization. So you just got to get into that habit, especially when you want to start a business, or you're low in funds. You have to really buckle down and nail yourself down to this, and then set a goal, and then continue to set goals throughout that time.
Were you always like that though, or you had to learn how to do that through that like period?
I think school and the way that I am definitely helped with that. I know a lot of people who have to like learn do, you know, be organized and this and that, which is, again, I try to help people with that too, which it's something I've had in one way or another, and it just transcended into, you know, creating a business and, you know, college and budgeting and trainer and all this and that. But of course, there's other things that I've had to teach myself along the
Right.
way as well. So, but whether you have it or not, I think you really have to learn or continue to be organized and just start to write things down. Just like me with my stunt resume. It's like you never know until you start to put pen to paper. And then you're like,
And it can
oh,
be intimidating. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it can. And just start small. You know, it's like, oh, this is my mortgage or this is my rent. Okay, this is how much I spend in food in a week. And if you don't know, track it for a week and then continue to do that and then create a budget. And, you know, there's plenty of resources online. There's plenty of people that can help you. And again, look into a financial planner.
Yeah. And they can also help you with those resources. I was going to ask you, but I don't know if you know off the top of your head, because if you just Google it, it's like, okay, that's a lot of different information and you don't know which one to trust, although it's gotten a little bit better these days, I think. And it's also important that you mentioned that, hey, you don't have to pay the financial planner. Like they get paid from, like you said, investments and stuff. So I was talking with American author Kristen Britton about like agents too. And I'm sure you actually have to deal with that. It was like, oh, do you pay the agent? They're like, no, they get paid from the job. So essentially, like when they find you one, there's a certain percentage, but you don't have to pay them up front. So that was something I learned. So going forward, like with that, what was the most, so well, you have military in your family, right? Or at least work in the government, your mom?
Yeah, my parents met in the Army. My mom worked for the
Oh,
federal government. My dad's retired NYPD.
yeah. So that's definitely, you know, lots of time and organization and, but also a lot of love. So go ahead.
It's
Sorry.
funny though, you would look at you've met my parents. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't come from your stereotypical military family. I was harder
Yeah.
on myself than my parents ever were. I was at the dinner table and I'm just sitting there like, I have to finish my food. My parents were like, you can get up. I was like, no, I got to finish my food. I was like,
That's
where
so
did
funny.
this come from?
They're like, we were chill, man. I don't know. That's probably why they were chill. They're like,
Like she needs
someone
to
calm her
relax.
down. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Yeah, no, I do actually remember you telling me that story too, because we've dealt with, you know, with Sifu Dan, like he's talked a lot about his military kind of upbringing with his dad and just, you know, all these other folks who've been in that. And I remember you saying the same thing. You're like, yeah, I know, wasn't that way for me, but I was it. It was me. So sorry, with all of that being said, what was the most difficult thing for you with creating Prowess Private Training or Prowess Personal Private Training? I had it right.
Yeah, actually, for as organized as I am and was, that first tax bill was devastating to me.
Yep.
Not understanding paying taxes periodically. And, you know, when you have your own business, it's a totally different thing now. You have to either pay yourself or, you know, work closely with your accountant. And the first accountant I had was not very good and wasn't very helpful. And at the time, I'm still trying to reach that $10,000 goal. And then all of a sudden I get hit with a $6,000 tax bill the first quarter of creating this business. And I cried.
Yeah.
I was like, where is this? I was already taking out a loan, you know, so financially, it was kind of rough in the beginning for me. I dug myself out of that hole, though I knew that I had to take on more clients. You know,
Yep.
I had to be a little bit more frugal now in my spending, cut back on certain things, take certain things out of the, you know, what I spend, you know, stay at home and eat.
Yeah.
So really digging myself out, because again, I didn't want to ask my parents for help.
Right.
They offered and I was like, nope, I'm doing this on my own. So, you know,
Got myself into this. I'll get myself
yeah,
out.
exactly. So that was pretty much the hardest was the start really, and just learning how to manage a business, you know, especially when it came to things that I had never even thought about before, because when you get a regular 9 to 5 paycheck, taxes are taken out and you don't have to worry about it, you know, and
Right.
it's like, oh,
Yep.
I get a refund check at the end of the year. And now it's like, I owe the IRS. What is that?
What is that? Yeah, I know that feeling. And yeah, nobody tells you. Like, and
Yeah,
again, you went to school for business. You got your master's in, I'm sorry, say again, in sports.
board administration.
How
Yeah.
the hell how did you, not how did you not know, but how did nobody teach you?
Yeah.
And Go
You
ahead.
pretty much get taught about a 9 to 5. You don't really, I mean,
Entrepreneurship.
yeah, it's like, I know there's courses in entrepreneurship, and like take those classes, because if
Yeah.
that's what you want to do, it's different. A business degree does not mean you know how to start a business.
Right. Despite the name. No, but it's true. And also, like, half the time people don't even know or can't say entrepreneurship. Like, they don't know what it means. I didn't know what it, you had to learn a lot of stuff. And another warrior woman I was talking to in an interview, Ivy Mix. So she's a top level mixologist, bartender in New York City. I actually met her through Lynette Marrero, another mixologist. They're actually in I know, right, Lynette?
You have to give me that information.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen to the podcast, Miss Jénel. They're on there. Fine. No, it's fine. That's okay. I don't watch half of your shit either. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I do. And I love you. But yeah, so Lynette actually, she was one of the first ones that I interviewed too. And then she was able to kind of just give recommendations on who to interview. And yes, so Ivy Mix was talking about that. And Ivy was talking about how just specifically as women too, we don't get that information. Like
Right.
Men are more likely to receive or get that information or be taught that information. And again, I'm not trying to generalize, but it is true. Like, just at least coming from her experience and experience with just women around the world. So there's actually a company or a website called Elvest, specifically to teach women how to just invest and what that means and understanding. And the website's actually pretty user friendly, it seems. So definitely something to check out too. And if you guys listen to Ivy Mix's episode, you'll find that information there. But yeah, so just in general, it's just something that we're not taught. And it's crazy because, again, you went to school for business. Yeah. So how long did it take you to get out of that debt? So how long did it take you to pay back the loan, to pay the taxes, and to kind of just get on the other side of starting to earn and be able, like, on the plus side of your business? They say usually it's about 2 years. So I don't know how long it was for you.
I'd say about that, maybe 3.
Thank God.
Because I know I had that tax bill, and then I had the loan, and then yeah, I would say 2 or 3 years to do that. And then it took a handful of years to get to my goal of 10,000.
Sorry, I only say cool because I'm like, oh, good. It gives me a little bit of hope in there, because I feel like I'm, still in that deficit and not even growing a little. It feels like it's going the right direction, but as far as money and dollar signs go, I'm not seeing that as quickly or at all as I would like to, but I know it's progressing. So that's why I'm asking you to see how long that was, because again, for you are doing most and all of the right things. Obviously, sometimes not, like you said, but you're top dog. Usually you are the top tier. And even to hear that you had not struggled, but it took time to build something,
I did. It was a struggle. It definitely was, for sure.
Quieter voice.
So, yeah.
I did.
I definitely did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it though, right? Like, you are going to struggle. That's the thing. It's just how you push through it and how you learn to get past it. So, and how do you think that so how old were you when you created your business, if you don't mind me asking?
Not at all. Oh, wow. I got to do math now.
Was it it was 2000?
It was 2000 and it was literally, I incorporated in September 2012, and I left Equinox the beginning of the year in 2013.
I'm gonna pause right there. You said you incorporated. Is that different than LLC? Yeah.
Yes, building a corporation, there's different ways. There's an S corp, there's LLC, there's C corp. So depending on what your structure is for your business will determine which route you should go in terms of incorporating. With LLC, there was just a lot of things in developing that I didn't need.
Sure.
So, and it just happened to be fortunate that S corp, which is what I have, transitioned into stunts too. So I was lucky with that, because I obviously I had no idea I was going to get into stunts, but it just worked that way. So I would definitely recommend reading extensively into that and what you want out of what your business can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
not just the cheapest option.
Yeah, no, don't do that, because it could cost you literally. And I actually did ask that question in the beginning when I was incorporating. I was like, well, why don't I just do whatever's cheapest? They're like, no, because that could cost you thousands of dollars if you choose wrong, when you're
Great.
paying for stuff. So it's either pay me now or pay me later.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm an LLC, so I know most people have that too. And that seems to be the simplest one of that, but it's not like you can't change either. That does exist. And also it does change from state to state. I've also learned that from moving like from New Jersey to Hawaii and just different things. So it is important to look that up, but also that's going to be something that why I ask you guys about it. And I'm going to have to ask somebody who really knows about it. Because it's just hard to understand sometimes, hard to understand the differences, the nuances. And it's like, well, one seems kind of the same. They're like, nope, it's very different. It's like, oh my God. Like,
and it's funny, I'm literally my husband is first started to dive into it, and I'm starting to learn as well. When you develop your business, you got to try to keep everything personal out of that. Because I started with my personal cell phone, I started with my personal email.
yep.
So, getting a Ring Central phone number is what I literally just did that a couple months ago. Creating a business email address, I literally just did that. I've been in business for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And now is when this information is coming to my ears. Like we said, you don't get taught this. You have to go after this information,
Yeah.
and developing business credit is something as well. And business credit card, making sure that your business credit doesn't show up on your personal credit. Like, this is a lot of information, and I'm just starting to learn it myself. And I've had a business for 10 years. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So making sure that when you develop your business or incorporate your business, you do it right from the beginning, because yes, you can change, you can dissolve, you can create a new business, but it's very hard to do, especially if you have your personal information on there. You have that electronic footprint, and that's hard to erase. So you got to really try to do the research and do it right from the beginning.
The hard part with that is that everything costs money. Right. So
yeah.
That's why we used our personals for a long time. And still, yeah, I have one now. It's like colo@tascofit.com. But the problem is I bought that through the website that I just canceled who I was like hosting with, because it was just not a good site for me. So one of my friends who I'm also training, we're doing a trade-off, is helping me with the website, and we just went a different route with it. But my email that I paid for is still connected to the site, the old site that I was hosting through. Right now, it's still active, it's still live. It didn't shut down with that site, but yeah, apparently, like, if and when the time comes when we switch it, like through Google itself, things might get lost. So I'm just trying to, I still want to use that though, because it's still active, it's still live. So it's just a hard balance. But yeah, it's important to have those emails. And again, you just get more credit for it. But there's nothing wrong with using at Gmail either when you're first starting out. Just the important thing too, guys, is like, just start. Like, just begin something. And again, like, you can't do your research and try to be as prepared as you can, but there is going to be so many things that you're learning along the way. If you don't start, you're never going to go anywhere. So,
right. It's true. It's like, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for that. It's like, if you start that mindset, you're going to wait for a long time, so
yeah, that's like,
starting for sure.
It's like trying to get in shape before you go to the gym.
Yeah. I
That's,
never understood why people said that to me.
I get it. I get it, because you're self-conscious. You don't want people to see you like kind of working through those things. Like, I fluctuate in weight a lot, and first of all, I was always super scrawny as a kid, and I've always been an athlete, like maybe not to your level. Marsha. No, I'm kidding. No, that's how I always feel around Jénel. Just
Your face,
no. No, but it's true. It's a little intimidating. Even when I was going into kettlebell kickboxing, I felt so scared and just like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to survive this. But with you as an instructor and Dasha, it was just kind of, you learned like, it's okay to not be able to do everything. Like, do what you can. Like, don't be lazy in it. But if only what you can do is like 2 reps of something and you're dying, just take a quick second, breathe, and go again. That's what you learn in business too. So how has your martial arts experience affected, or how has your martial arts experience been able to help you throughout your career in just with your own business, and also becoming a stunt actress? Was that the title that you would use? Or actress and stunt coordinator, right? You were a stunt coordinator on help me out.
Well, I did stunt coordinating for Face On, and then was one of the fight choreographers for Woman King.
Awesome.
So yeah.
But yeah, tell us about that. So
Yeah, absolutely. But just to rewind before I answer that question, what you were
sure.
talking about in terms of you know, what we were literally just talking about. I think that, when you're like, oh, I can only do two reps, or like not going so far, it's like you really have to take the ego out of it. And that's one of my problems too. When it's like, no, I can do it, it's like, whether it's in fitness or whatever it is, especially in business, you have to really just be able to be vulnerable and say, can you help me? I need
Yeah.
help. That's a very, very big thing. And taking a step back can take you 1,000 steps forward if you just leave yourself open to help.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was something else that Emily Kwok, I know I'm name dropping like a motherfucker over here,
I
but
like it. Do it.
but it's true though. It's every person that I've interviewed before this, it's like you're saying a lot of the same things, and that just shows how you guys are successful. Like if you haven't put them together yet, folks, like this is the way. So just kind of going back with taking the ego out of it. So what she was saying is that we don't necessarily have to take the ego all the way out, right? It's just managing the ego more so, because it's we say take the ego out because the idea is like what she was saying, which you could listen to that previous episode too. It'll be the one right before yours, so it'll be
Okay,
easy.
fair enough.
But she was saying just being able to manage your ego, being able to make sure that you use your ego in a sense of when it's time to compete, when it's time to put that effort in, when it's time to take all that you've learned and put it into practice. But what it means is also like, don't be a sore loser, and don't bring like that aggression, that negativity into a learning space where you need to just be open-minded and be able to receive the information without having the idea in your mind of like, oh, well, I've done this and this. Like we've experienced that in martial arts, right? Like somebody comes from a different martial arts academy and they're like, well, that's not how we did it there. It's like, well, you're not there anymore, are you? Like
Right.
you're in this school, so learn, and then you can adapt and use it all. Like no one's saying you can't use what you learned there. It's just be open to learning this, and then you'll absorb what's useful and disregard what is not to make it uniquely your own. Thank you, Bruce.
JKD.
JKD,
Hey.
exactly. So,
Always.
yes. So sorry, we
I
were going
think
into, go ahead.
I feel like you answered your own question then with me. It's like that's the thing with JKD, right? Like this is what has helped me in my business. You're literally quoting things that we learned in our martial arts school, so I've taken that too, and I embody that philosophy as well. And those are the things and lessons I learned through Anderson's and through going through this whole process. And obviously Anderson's was an extreme help because they allowed me to house my business, under their roof. It allowed me to continue to watch the New York stunt community. That's how I got into the career that I'm in now. I would never have been able to do that without Anderson's and just being pretty much in the right place at the right time. But not only that, but taking the classes. I started martial arts to be able to defend myself, and then after a while, when I first started, I was like, there's no way I'm getting to a ring. I would never get into a ring. No way.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, years later,
maybe
I get into a ring,
Yeah. Put a
so
ring on
I
it.
compete. And, it just, they allowed me, they allowed me to think more about myself, even though I had confidence, they instilled more confidence in me. And it's crazy how getting punched in the face and getting beat up sometimes it gives you more confidence,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I just got punched in the face, but I could keep going. This is awesome.
Yep.
Realizing that what's coming at you sometimes isn't the worst of it. And even though you get knocked down figuratively or physically, you can get back up. It's not the end of the world. And the discipline, obviously, with the martial arts helps in life in general. Everybody's got a plan so they get punched in the face, right? And then you pivot sometimes. So that's,
Yep.
I got punched in the face with that tax bill that I got that first quarter of building that career. But, I had to pivot, and I had to recreate, and I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to come up with a new plan. I had to come up with new goals. So, all of it really it coincides with, our martial arts training and the mindset we have to have for it, and pushing forward, and the opportunities they gave us to meet different people and explore different options. And Sifu and Dash have been extremely helpful. And so, I take all of that, all of the lessons learned from day to day, not wanting to go to class. And he was like, no, I got to go to class, which correlates to, I don't want to pay this bill, or I don't want to have this meeting with this person. But no, you got to do it, because you want to get here. So.
Yeah. And just changing that state of mind too is where it's at. Like, there's a lot of times that like I work a part-time job here and I'm just like, I'd rather be working on my business. I'd rather be like, this is not a waste of my time because I'm making money that I definitely need, but I'm like, I want to be making money doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, even if it is with a different place. But like other places that I've tried, except recently, have wanted me to shut down my business, or they kind of belittled it almost like, well, you've only have a couple of people, if that, like, why don't you just join us? And, then you can make your money here. And it's just like, because I've done that for so long already, and not in a negative way too. Like, again, Sifu and Dasha were there and, always help me with like information and clients and everything. And I want to be able to do that on my own. I want to be able to take the lessons that I've learned from them and use them. It's like kind of flying the nest, right? It's like,
Right.
I want to be able to fly and to use those lessons. And also myself, it's not all, it's we've learned many things on our own too. And I kind of forget that sometimes because we feel that we owe people so much. And it's true. Like I'm so grateful to so many people, and it took a village to raise me too. And it's just like, you have to give yourself some credit in what you do too. And I'm still kind of learning that, because it's like, we work hard, and it's like, sometimes we don't feel that confident because it's like, oh, well, I haven't reached this level yet, or I wish I could do more, but you forget to look at how much you've done already.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of just taking that step back and reevaluating, or just evaluating what you've done and how you can move forward. So,
yeah, I actually just saw a Facebook post from an actress that I doubled. It was a great post that she wrote, and she had written down at one point, she's like, wow, in the post, she's like, oh, I started out on Jessica Jones, and looking back on everything that I've done from that point. And she had written to herself when she did Jessica Jones, and she shared that picture on the post, like, you'll be proud of yourself in 5 years. See what you will do in the next 5 years. And she, looking back on that, you have to step back. And it's like, yeah, you're always pushing, you always want to do more. And it's like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. But it's like, if you write those notes to yourself and you look back 2, 3, 5 years ago, it's like, where were you? Like, how much have I done? And to sit down and just appreciate what you've done, so that you have the motivation, the inspiration to continue to grow and to continue to get to that point, even though you may not be at the point that you want to be at. You have to celebrate your victories, and realize and acknowledge the progression that you've made.
and also, sorry, go ahead.
Roots and wings is what I was going to say too. My dad always told me, roots and wings. You have where you came from, your roots, your family, your all that, whatever, your friends who are supportive. And then, you take those lessons and those nutrients basically, and then you fly. You have to grow your own wings.
Oh, Papa Stevens. I miss that, man. Roots, what is it? Roots and fly.
Roots and wings, roots and wings.
Roots and wings, roots and wings. It sounds also like a you want to get some roots and wings? We'll get no.
Root beers and wings, yes.
That's awesome. Like, no, that's not what we're saying. But yeah, it's very true. And that, again, another testament to where you come from and where you've gone, but also saying to that too, right? Celebrating your victories. If you're evaluating what you've done and you're still not where you want to be, or even a little bit closer, then that's also okay. Now I'm going to use the word reevaluating your game plan, right? Because even with fighting, right, in the ring, like, you had someone who's in your corner who knew the game per se and knew how to guide you within that. So, and that's where these other people in this podcast comes into play to help you guys out there to guide you. But again, if you are not with someone who's either has your best interest at heart, or you just are not necessarily there for yourself, knowing how to guide yourself with a good game plan, you are going to keep losing over and over again without getting that win. But again, still keep trying, but maybe try to adjust where you can. Again, taking a hard look at your finances, note to self, and really trying to change that. So going with that too, and my own issues, if we're going to go into that, How do you stay consistent with that? I mean, I know, again, you have that, like, that determination. I'm very determined and I'm very stubborn, but there's a lot of times where I'll go, like, I had a log for this fight camp that I was doing, although they haven't found me an opponent, so I doubt I'm going to fight. But I got up to probably about day 17, and then I started to wane on writing in it every day. And then I was like not writing in it at all. And now it's been days, and it's just like, why do I do this every time? I start really strong and then it tapers off because I just either get lazy or I'm just like, I can remember it. How do you stay consistent with that?
Well, I think everybody goes through phases, and I've been through phases too. I always go through phases. I mean, yesterday was the first time I worked out in like a month and a half, just with work and excuses. It's like,
Yeah.
no, get on it. Like you said, you have to start, right? You have to start. If you say, oh, I haven't written, this many days, whatever, and it's like, oh man, it's like, you know what? Start. Whatever
Yeah.
it is, just start, And in addition to that, if you feel like you're in this area or this mindset or this phase basically of negativity or being down on yourself or whatever, it's like you really have to surround yourself with successful people, and surrounding yourself with people that are at the level you want to get to or higher. And just start with conversation, surrounding yourself with these people, especially in the field that you want to be in. But it's very interesting. Like, again, Al, my husband, was big on that, and I was like, oh, well, a little bit of pushback with that. I was like, that's whatever. I like my friends, blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, but it's like, oh, if you step in a room of other people that maybe you haven't met before, whatever, but once you start to get to know who they are, what they're made of what they've done, it's like, oh, I wanna, even if you're, not necessarily talking to them or having a straight conversation, you sit there and you listen,
Yeah.
and you get invited to the table and you can start having these conversations, and they'll drop nuggets of knowledge on you that you didn't even expect. They'll
Yeah.
say something to you that they're just saying in passing. And then it's like, wow, it just opens your eyes, just being surrounded by successful people and people that are, growing or have gotten to a certain level that you want to be to or that you want to be, um, is very helpful. It's more helpful than you think, I think. And when you're feeling down, I think it's like, I'm gonna go here, or I'm gonna go to this seminar, I'm gonna network with these people here. It's like, there's seminars all the time, everywhere. It's like, this is the industry I want to be in. They're having a seminar on this. Go to that seminar. That's your start point. Network with people, get people's business cards, have a conversation at the seminars. Just start building a network and community of positive, inspiring people, and people who are excited about your growth as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, though, it doesn't mean that you have to drop any other friends that aren't necessarily to
Right.
your level, but you hope that maybe your influence too can help them to try and achieve that level, but maybe that's not within their game plan. And it is hard then, because then you don't have as much time for that. And it's not to, like, shit on anybody else, but yeah, you do have to, like, you have goals and you have to follow that. Like, it's also, again, not taking things personally, right? Like, certain people, I'm like, man, I'm not that low on the totem pole, but like nobody's talking to me or calling me out, you know what I mean? But it's just like, we're all still growing and we're all still learning from each other. And that's understandable. And it's just like, who cares what they're doing in that sense? But that's the thing, they're doing it because they're seeking that higher level. And I'm like, well, shit, I want to be that higher level. I'm going to be that higher. Like, you know what I mean? So, but
Right.
you can get there, right? So it's like they have to do their own thing and follow their own path, even if your paths once crossed, and that's okay. Like, you can always come back to it, but definitely try to better yourself how you can. You don't always rely on those same people. It's not saying never rely on them, but it's saying, again, like Jénel said, find, like, network, find new groups, find it. Like, it doesn't have to all be clicky, right? That's what Jeet Kune Do teaches you. It's like
Right.
experiencing and taking from each of these things what you need and how you can help yourself and others potentially. So yeah, of course, surround yourself with those at a higher level, just constantly, but also know that you can help somebody else too through your knowledge that you're gaining from that, whether that be your family, friends, strangers, again, who are listening to this podcast. And I truly hope that this helps and inspires all of you to be able to do what you can, because we all can. It just takes a matter of doing it.
Yeah, it's
Send
that
it.
first step.
Mhm.
You have to make yourself uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You make yourself
I was
comfortable.
inserting joke there, but that's
Ah!
fine. So I was gonna go somewhere with this. Oh yeah, that's ironic because I was gonna ask you if you get distracted easily or overwhelmed with what you do. Clearly I do, but no. So,
Okay.
so you do a lot, right? So what are you, first of all, what are you doing right now? What's everything on your agenda? Like what the hell are you doing right now, Jénel? She's in Toronto right now too. Like, I don't
Man,
even know where this
it's
woman is.
crazy. It's been crazy. What you said, did you get distracted or overwhelmed, right? Yes, I do. In fact, I'm very much looking forward to these holidays coming up, but I am eternally grateful and forever humbled by this business and the position that I'm in. So I never take that for granted whatsoever. And the grass is always greener sometimes, but I do miss home. It
Yeah.
does get overwhelming sometimes. I just came off of um Washington Black in Mexico. It was like a show that was being shot there. I came off of Shadow Force, which is an amazing experience. It was funny because when I was in Mexico, I was like, I'm not going to work internationally anymore for a while. And then I got out of Colombia. I was like, well, I got to take this as an acting role and something, the path that I really want to go down. So it's called the Shadow Force with Kerry Washington, Omar Sy, are like the leads of it. It was an amazing experience. The cast and crew of that project was unbelievable. It's an unforgettable experience. But then after Columbia, I was like, I'm not going to work internationally for a while. I'm just going to go through the end of the year and just work on self and take time for family because I haven't seen
Yeah.
them in so long. And then Toronto calls, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, and
You
then I'm
should
going to take a break.
you should just keep saying it because then it's just going to keep getting you more jobs. It's like when you're working and you're trying to eat, you order something finally, and then you just
Yeah,
get everybody walking through the door and you're like, like,
yeah,
but
exactly.
I think your fight experience and training and martial arts, I know everybody's like, man, they talk a lot about martial arts, but it's true,
Yeah,
guys. Like it really does change your life for the better and can help you overcome things and deal with experiences because you think that you don't have another one in you. You think like, I can't do it. There
yeah,
is, listen, there is also like knowing when to take that moment to be with
right.
family because there is going to get to that point. But you also know the point where you can give just a little bit more and where you don't want to miss that opportunity you're opening, right? So fight training and being in fights does that because there's moments like I can't do it. I can't go another round. And maybe the bell rings and you're like, oh, you know what? I take a deep breath now. I can go one more round and
Yeah.
that's what it is. And you know that you can do it because you've done it like physically and mentally. So, eventually again, that fight's going to have to at least end for the moment so you could prep for the other one. But I guess how do you refocus then? Like when you get that distraction or you get that homesick feeling, like how do you make sure that you prioritize what you need to prioritize and just kind of get to it?
I just sometimes I'll write it down, or I'll just create goals in my head, or say to myself, okay, Thanksgiving, because it's the production break, so nobody's really going to be working. Well, in Toronto, they don't have their Thanksgiving. It's like a couple weeks ago, but anyways, but it's like, okay, Thanksgiving, US holiday production. I have that to look forward to. Okay, cool. Let's just get through this and then make a plan for every day or every week that I'm, not at home. Or it's like, okay, so that's what I did for myself. It's a perfect time to ask that question because it just literally has come up in my head. I'm like, man, I'm missing home. I want to be home, but I love what I do. I'm going to continue what I do. So it's like, this is a moment in time because now, and my husband's working in Hawaii, so we couldn't be any further apart. By the way, you have to give me that information on your fight.
Yeah, I know.
I'm interested in going. But anyways, but yeah, so I said to myself, I was like, okay, I have these 4 weeks left. Am I going to just pout about it? Or am I going to get something done? I was like, you know what? I've fallen off my fitness. I'm going to get back on that so that when Thanksgiving comes, I can enjoy my turkey because I'll have that much more higher level of fitness to have to fall back on. I'm not going to go home with no level of fitness and then I can't really enjoy my turkey because I'm going to feel horrible about myself. But it's like, yeah, I just
Enjoy my turkey.
create goals, So it's like, what do you want to do in that time? Okay, maybe this sucks. Maybe, you don't like, the next couple of weeks is going to be, whatever. You're not looking forward to it. It's like, okay, what do I look forward to? What can I do in this time? What do I want to accomplish in this time? And then like set goals and just, stick to it. And then when you do that, you realize like, oh, wow, the time just flew by, and I have something to show for it. So for me, that's kind of what I do. It's like, all right, I want to be in better shape. Let's take these 4 weeks. I'm not going to be able to see my husband. I'm not going to be able to go home, but I'm going to take these 4 weeks because in the grand scope of things, it's a bump in the road, right? It's a blip in time, 4 weeks compared to your life, right? Let's do something with this time. So it's really just a matter of getting up and being like, all right, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And sometimes that means starting again and then starting again and starting again. So sometimes it doesn't happen right away, right off the bat, but if you just consistently go back to it, you realize it's like, okay, start again. Maybe you fall and then start again, fall, but you're still climbing the ladder.
Yeah. So you're not necessarily starting again. You're just continuing on. And sometimes it is starting again though. Like you're way down and you're like, I went to a kickboxing class last night and whew, I don't recall not being able to take body shots like as badly as I couldn't take them last night. I was like, I've never had the experience of like, except when I got like hit like hard in sparring, like of like being dropped. Like this one, like I was taking it, but I was like, I don't remember this hurting or not hurting, but I don't remember not being able to like brace at all. Like why can't I? And he wasn't going too hard either, but it was like he was going, but I was just like, why is there like feels like a hole of a soft spot right there in this specific point? This sucks, but you know what? It's because I haven't been lifting and I gave myself that 4 weeks too. But like I said, on that day 17 or 18, I started to wane and I don't know why. Like, because I stopped writing things down. That's why.
Yeah.
But it's
the
just
source. You already answered your own questions. Like, okay, where's the source? Where do I redo this?
yeah.
And just like you, I had, I removed my ego and I had a trainer train me yesterday.
Oh, that helps though.
Because he's really right there across the street. And it really did, because I was like, all right, I'm gonna get back on my fitness. I was like, man, I gotta have some tough mental fortitude because I do not want to go in the gym after this 8 hours of rehearsal. It's like, oh, okay, somebody introduced me to this trainer. I was like, I have accountability now. I have this appointment with this person. I can't waste their time. But I came back after that session. I laid on this floor for 20 minutes. I could not move. Like, day one. My body.
But then you're like, feels good too, but I can't move.
My muscles are burning, but it's awesome. I don't want to do this again, but I'm going to do it again. Let me make another appointment.
I will say it's that too. Like, and again, we're both personal trainers and, you're usually very good at keeping yourself accountable too, but also like, I know people are going to be like, oh God, she's mentioning this again. We are Virgos, whatever that means to people, but we're perfectionists and everything else, and we're also usually meticulous, but again, we have so many different interests and different things, like just again, generalizing, but it does seem to be a theme that we can like get really excited up front and then we'll be really, really good. And then kind of tapering off like somewhere, but it really does help to have somebody else just kind of yelling at you, like efficiently, that gives you information, like information, but also like, all right, let's go. Stop talking. I don't want to stop. And that's what I've had to do. Like, I'm very fortunate. Like, I'm like very low on funds at the moment because I'm still building my business and I'm working on like correcting that. I'm trying to work on the budget thing, everything that we've talked about today. And it's a work in progress, but it's progressing. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm just trying to keep going. I would just really like to see those numbers come in.
And congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm stoked at that, but just kind of, again, now I'm trying to find I'm sorry, brief aside. Now I'm trying to find a part-time job too, that's going to correlate with what I do, that won't compromise what I do. So I had a couple interviews for that and I'm so excited. So I really hope they play out. And you know what, if they don't, then I just keep doing what I'm doing. I can't be, too stuck on those. It's just, it is what it is. And, just keep going. It's a numbers game at a certain point. I was going somewhere else with this and I've lost it. And I feel like it was an important thing.
I think it's important for say what you were going to say, but don't lose again.
No, I won't. Just having a personal trainer, somebody who's going to be there to keep you accountable. You can either use myself here in Hawaii with Tasco Fit Martial Arts and Fitness or Jénel Stevens-Thompson now too, as well, with Prowess Private Training. So we're out there, guys. We can help you. And again, we are not hypocrites. So we do our best to make sure we do as we say. And, it's not one of those do as we say, not as we do. We do as we say as well. So always leading by example. And we can't diagnose ourselves just like doctors, they need to have doctors or therapists too. So that's what sometimes we need to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, just finishing up, Jénel, if there's one thing that you want our listeners to take away from today's conversation, either people who are looking to potentially become their own business owners, their own bosses, or those who are kind of experienced in it, like, myself, but kind of still building, or those who have been in it for a while and maybe they're looking to work with people or just kind of looking for new ideas, what would you want them, any one of those people, to take away from our conversation today?
Don't stop following your dreams and your goals. Even if you have a goal and you pivot at some point, like I did, I had a significant goal in life and didn't work out that way, but it whatever path I took, whatever struggles I went through, I ended up in a career that I truly enjoy. Yes, there's pros and cons to everything, but I am super grateful for where I'm at right now, and I'm going to continue to climb that ladder. And you can't do that if you stop. If you have a goal, if you have a dream, follow it. Start. Like we said that a lot today in this podcast. Start somewhere and don't stop. Failure is never final unless you quit.
Word up. And also another quote: you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Right.
Say that one too.
Yeah.
I love that
Sifu would say that one all the time too.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so where can people find you, Jénel? What can they find you for? Whether it's private training or, whether in martial arts or fitness, and also within your stunt and acting career, like what can people seek out Miss Jénel Stevens-Thompson for? Besides a good party.
Not even, man, I have time for that. You can find me on Instagram. I promise I'm getting better with my posting. But Jénel_stunts, JENEL_stunts. You can always come to me for advice. If I don't have the answer, I can direct you to someone who can. I don't personal train anybody anymore. I think it's unfair because my schedule is all over the place. So I'm going to direct those questions to you, Kolo. And
awesome.
I have an awesome trainer for you. I can direct you in the right way on that one. But yeah, just, whether it's a question or a piece of advice or whatever it is, I'm always willing to give that. I'm all over the place. The entertainment industry is not a solid one. I'll tell you that one. It'll take you from one day to the next. I know we've been trying to have this podcast interview for a long time with everything. So, but yeah, I'm always down to help anybody with a question or comment or whatever it is. And you're a good source of knowledge too. So a lot of them, I'm just going to direct them to you.
all of a sudden get all these, and I'm like, oh crap, no. And that's awesome. I'm super grateful, but I wouldn't have known all that I have. Like, you helped me a lot too when I was growing my business. Like, we just had honest chats and you were just always supportive. Like, there was no like ifs, ands, or buts, and sometimes we got that from around us, whether it was trying to kind of just test us or see our willingness. Like, sometimes we honestly just need that friend and somebody with the experience to be like, no, you got this. And that just gives you that extra level, which I really, really appreciated. So thank you so much for just being an incredible friend. And I was referring to your birthday parties, by the way.
Okay, fair enough.
Not just party animal. You're like glamour queen, like transition. I'm like, okay, shoots. I gotta bring it on. But no, thank you so much for making this happen, Jénel. And I can't wait to see what you do and how you progress. And hopefully I'll get you on in maybe like another year or something and see what you've done and where you're at, and just we'll check in on each other.
I'm excited for where you're gonna go, Cole. I'll be like, oh my god, she has 1 million listeners right now. I don't know what to do. I'm so nervous.
Just for my episode. No, I'm kidding. But awesome. Thank you so much, Jénel. And I hope you guys check her out and all of the amazing things that she's done. So again, check out that IMDb as well as her Instagram. And I think, do you still have a website up for Prowess Private Training?
It's a
Oh, never
little,
mind. Anyway, no,
yeah.
just check her out. You'll find
Yeah.
out. Just she's awesome. She's doing all the stunt work. She's enjoying life. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that, to quote Forrest Gump.
Hey.
But Jénel, thank you so much again. And I wish you the best of luck in Toronto and break a leg, I guess.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No worries. Mahalo and aloha.
Hey.
A big mahalo, as always, to you listeners out there for tuning into another episode of Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship podcast. If you know of any warrior women in your life that you would love to hear on this podcast, please let us know. You can either email us at colo@tascofit.com, or you can just DM us at tascofit on Instagram, or we're also on TikTok too. So definitely just let us know. And we'd love to hear how you're enjoying the podcast in the comments, either on YouTube, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're also on Stitcher. So please be sure to check those out. And we look forward to keep bringing you more incredible episodes that have tons of valuable information that'll hopefully help you on your journey to becoming the best entrepreneur that you can be. Aloha.